Hi, this is David Yu working with Practice Midterm for Money and Banking at University of Missouri. Okay, so today I'm going to work with the first 10 questions for Midterm 1. Okay, so let's start. First question is, if a 5,000 face value discount bond maturing in 1 year is selling for 4,000, then its yield to maturity is what? So basically, when you take a look at the discount bond, it's pretty straightforward. I will just draw a really simple payment schedule over here. So this thing goes for 1 year, and the purchase price is $4,000. And the face value is 5,000, means a year later I'm going to receive $5,000. Okay. And basically, the formula for this is going to be the yield to maturity just equals to how much money I'm going to receive in 1 year minus the original price I paid over the initial price. Okay, so this is just This is going to be 1,000 over 4,000, which is 25%. Okay, so the right answer is D. Okay, if you're not quite familiar with this formula, I will just go ahead and use a really basic formula where present value equals to future value divided by 1 plus I. So since this goes for only 1 year, it's to the power of 1. So by plugging everything, the present value is 4,000. All right, that should equals to future value of 5,000. And here's 1 plus I. As you notice that I can put 1 plus I to the left, and the right-hand side becomes 5,000 divided by 4,000. Okay, which eventually gives you the same thing over here as I equals to 25%. Okay, the second question requires a lot of memory, so you need to know what are these stuff are. What are these stuffs are? So it's asking which of the following options are short-term loans in which treasury bills serve as collateral. All right. So the first thing, you probably haven't heard about this. It's a federal fund. So if you haven't heard about it, it won't be the right answer. But we're going to talk about federal funds by a lot in the second midterm and then the final. But in a simple way to explain this, this is just an interbank loan. Okay, so it's like one commercial bank is lending money to another commercial bank. And there's no collateral, so you don't have to. So this won't be the right answer. A repurchase agreement. Okay, so for you guys who don't know what it is just a saying that it has 2 steps. Okay, so step 1, we call it a sell step. And in this case, the investor is going to give the borrower some cash, and the borrower has to give investor some asset as collateral. And in step 2, so excuse me, let me erase this thing here. Okay. So step 2 is that after a certain amount of time, there will be a buyback. We're investors, so we reverse everything, and the borrower is going to give some cash back. So basically it's going to be cash plus some interest back to the investor, and investor return the collateral asset back to borrower. And in general, the asset will be the treasury bills, which is the short-term government security. Okay, so this is the right answer. And U.S. government agency security is the category that treasury bills will be in. So treasury bills is not a collateral for this, but itself is one of the U.S. government agency securities. And for negotiable certificates of deposit, it's just a deposit where you have to keep in the commercial bank for a certain period of time. Okay, so there's no collateral for that. So the right answer is B, right? And for C, if an investor is certain that market interest rate will decline in the future, which of the following will she be most likely to purchase today? Okay, so in the class and in the lab, we know that interest rate and price is going to the opposite direction, right? So if you think the interest rate in the future is going to go down, that means the price is going to go up. So in general, you will be happy to hold all four of the options, okay? And as you can see, the only difference between these four options is that they have different lengths or different maturity, okay? So let's take a look. What will happen? What's the difference between bonds with different maturity under this scenario, right? So for example, if it is a 1-year bond, right? And then you have a coupon, for example, is a coupon bond. You receive one coupon payment, the face value back, right? So I know in this case, the current price will be the first coupon divided by 1 plus I plus face value divided by 1 plus I. And obviously, when interest rate is smaller, that means every single thing, all the future payments will be discounted with a smaller amount of rate, right? Which makes the price higher, okay? But if it's a 2-year bond, all right, then the formula looks like this, plus C divided by 1 plus I square plus FV 1 plus I square. All right. So notice if I decrease in this case, the first term will increase by exactly the same amount as the first term over here. All right. And the second term is going to increase in total as interest rate goes down. But it doesn't exist in the first equation, right? So there will be some extra increase in this price. And also for the face value, it will increase more because this whole number to the power to the square is going to decrease more because when I decrease, for example, over here, if it decrease, say, from 1.1 to 1.05, and over here will be decrease from 1.1 square to 1.05 square. If you use your calculator, you will notice this number actually decreased by more percent, which means the price is going to increase by more percent. So using this example, I know when interest rate goes down, actually the longer the bond is, the more value is going to gain, right? So basically, I'm going to select, with that rule, I'm going to select the one with longest maturity date, which is C over here, that goes for 50 years of government, 50 years government bond. Okay. So if we keep moving, for question 4, in the figure above, what factor is going to shift the demand curve to the right? So we know the demand of bond is determined by 5 factors. The first one is people's wealth. Second one is inflation rate. Third one is future interest rate. The fourth one is relative return and relative risk. The first one says, if there's an increase in the riskiness of bonds relative to other assets, when risk is higher, we no longer want the bond, so the demand is going to shift to the left. So it's going to decrease the demand, so that is not right. When there is an increase in the expected rate of inflation, we know that when inflation goes up, the real return is going to go down, right? So when real return is going down, we're going to reduce the demand of bond. So that is not right. For C, a decrease in wealth. When people have less wealth, they're going to invest less money. So the demand is going to decrease as well, so that is not right. When there's expectations of lower interest rate in the future, it means in the future we're expecting the interest rate to drop, right? So that is going to increase the demand, because if I buy bond today for a certain price, when in the future the interest rate goes down, the price is going to go up. So that is going to increase the value of our investment, which is going to increase the demand today. So this is the right answer. Right? For question 5, if a perpetuity has a price of 5,000 and an annual interest rate payment of 350, the interest rate is what? Okay, so perpetuity has its own equation, which is the yield to maturity equals to the payment you pay each period divided by the original price. Okay, so the price. And in this case, it's going to be $350 divided by 5,000, which is 7%. Okay, so a little bit digression about that, why this formula is nothing but an extension of the present value function. So present value equals to future value divided by 1 plus I. If we take a look of the perpetuity payment schedule, we notice that it goes on and on forever, right? So if we use a coupon bond equation, it looks like this. It's going to be the price of it should equals to the coupon payment divided by 1 plus I plus the next coupon payment discounted by 2 periods, and it goes on and on forever, right? And if you know a little bit more math, you know this is nothing but a summation of a geometric progression or geometric sequence. Okay. A geometric sequence looks like this. In this case, that is, the first term is C plus 1 over I, and the second term is nothing but the first term divided by a ratio, which is 1 plus I, or multiplies with the same ratio. So this thing equals to this. An all following term is nothing but the former term times 1 plus I to 1. Okay. And the summation, we have an equation to get the summation of a geometric progression, which is the first term. Okay, so this is the summation, or the price, equals to 1 plus the ratio to the power of n period divided by 1 minus the ratio 1 plus I 1 over 1 plus I. Okay, so when n goes to infinity, like a perpetuity goes, since 1 plus I is greater than 1, then the whole thing goes to 0. Okay, which means the whole term at here goes to 1. Okay, so that is going to equals to payment divided by 1 plus I, and the top term is 1, and this is 1 minus 1 over 1 plus I, that is simply 1 plus I to I. Okay, as you can see, this thing cancels out, that's equals to payment divided by I equals to P, so that means the yield to maturity equals to payment divided by P. Okay. For you guys who are interested in how to get this formula, you can take a look at my derivation over here, but it is not necessary for you to know it. You just need to know perpetuity is really special, so you need to use this formula to get the right answer. Okay? And for number 6, suppose your marginal federal income tax rate is 40%, your marginal state tax rate is 5%, and the yield on 30-year U.S. Treasury bond is 5%. You would be indifferent between buying a 30-year Treasury bond and buying a 30-year municipal bond issue within your state if the municipal bond has a yield of what? Okay. So for this question, notice that your municipal bond is federal income tax free. Okay. So this is really useless. So we don't need the state tax rate because both your treasury bonds and your municipal bond have to pay state tax rate. Okay, so the only difference is the federal income tax. What I know about is that my bond interest rate is 5%. However, that is not really my profit, not really my return, because I need to pay some tax. So I need to pay 40% of my return away, and eventually it will be only 6%, 60% of 5%. So it becomes 5% times 0.6, which gives me 3%. Okay, so if a municipal bond pays me 3%, which is B, then I'm totally equivalent between buying my federal bond or buying the municipal bond. Okay, so that's it for question 6. Question 7, if the expected return on bonds decreases, all else equal, the demand for bond is going to decrease. Okay, so this is just a supply and demand analysis for bond. So it tells you the demand for bonds decrease, so it shifts to the left. All right, the price of the bond, notice vertical axis is the price is going to drop. And since price and yield has negative correlation, so when price drops, yield is going to go up. So interest rate goes up. So that means B is correct. Price of bond is going to decrease, I is going to increase. We're going to use this analysis in a lot of questions, so it's really important to know how to work with it. Question 8 is my favorite question. Which of the following 1,000 face value securities has the highest yield to maturity? So obviously every single option gives you the same coupon bond, give you the same coupon payment. Since the face value is 1,000, 5% coupon bond just means it's going to give you $50 at the end of each year. But it's selling at a different price. So basically you're purchasing a service or an investment with different price. And obviously this is the cheapest one. Okay, so I'm going to pick the one that has lowest price. But there's one trick that you can do. So basically you can take a look if each of the option only goes for 1 year, how much money you can make with it. Okay, so for example, the question option 1, I'm paying $600 at the beginning, and in the end I'm receiving $1,050. That is my face value plus my coupon payment. So in total I'm making $450. Okay, so again this is just 1,050 minus 600. Okay, and obviously for option B, I paid 800, so I'm going to minus 800, and in the end I got the same thing, right? $1,050. So that is going to be $250. That's how much I'm going to make for 1 year. And for the same reason, this is making me only $50, and for option D, I'm losing actually $150. So since A gives me the highest pay, I'm going to go with A. Okay, so when this type of question becomes more complicated, this is really useful to set everything just as a 1-year bond and just figure out how much money you can make with a 1-year investment. Okay. For 9, if the maturity of debt instrument is less than 1 year, the debt is called a short-term debt. Okay, so so if it's longer than 1 year, in general, we call it as long-term. I've never heard about anything about it's an intermediate term or prime term. Okay. So the last question I'm going to talk about today is going to be question 10. So Kevin purchasing concert tickets with his debit card is an example of what function of money. So obviously D is not even a function of money. Money has 3 functions: unit of account, medium of exchange, store of value. Whenever you see people is using money to buy something, so purchasing something, then it is going to be the medium exchange. Okay, so I'm going to select B. But notice there will be some questions that is pretty similar. For example, if Kevin noticed a concert tickets cost him certain amount of money, since he's not really buying that thing, he just see the price tag. So that is going to be the unit of account function of money, and that is a small difference between these two. So it really matters if he's really buying something or just that he sees the price tag. Okay. So hopefully tomorrow I'm going to talk about the next 10 questions, but that is today. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any question, send me email.